And now it's time to move on to Bargain Bin of the Month. So you may have noticed this month that I've mixed it up a bit, and there's a few, I've changed a few jingles around, and I thought the jingle for Bargain Bin of the Month this month was more appropriate with being the Canon Studios wonderful logo music, because we are going to be talking about a couple of Canon movies this month. But before we get to that, let's talk about what we chose last month in Bargain Bin of the Month, and our choice was between two franchise killers from the same director, John G. Avildsen. We had to choose between The Karate Kid Part 3 and Rocky 5. And after one of the best bargain bin discussions I think we've had, I thought it was a funny one, we decided to send the steaming pile of shit, The Karate Kid Part 3, to the bin and put the not quite so steaming pile of shit, Rocky 5, back on the shelf. But what do you, our loyal customers, think? So, as usual, we ran a poll on our Facebook page, and I've just dropped my phone. Hang on a second. Whack, whack, oops. So, as usual, we ran a poll on our Facebook page to see what you, our loyal customers, thought, and the results are in. And 64% of our customers agreed with us, and they sent The Karate Kid Part 3 to the bargain bin, and they put Rocky 5 back on the shelf. And I think my friend Lee Bullock sums it up quite well. Even though we did put Rocky 5 back on the shelf, he sums it up quite well and just said, Rocky 5 is a depressing experience. So, yes, there we are. I think I agree with you there, Lee. I think Rocky 5 is a depressing experience, and The Karate Kid Part 3 is an amusing experience. But there we go. That's it. Our customers agree with us for last month. So now, this month, as I said, that's why I put the Canon jingle at the top of this part. And that's because we are choosing between two sequels in the Death Wish franchise with good old Charles Bronson. We are skipping the first two Michael Winner directed entries. Calm down, dear. Do you remember that stupid fucking advert Michael Winner did? Was it for insurance or something? Calm down, dear. It's like, shut up, Michael Winner, you slag. So we are choosing between Canon-produced Death Wish 3 and Death Wish 4, The Crackdown. So let's start off with Death Wish 3.
New York, a city pushed to the edge. People pushed to the limit, and no one's got the guts to stop them.
It's collection time, Charlie.
3 murders, 4 rapes, 9 acts of random violence. This isn't a neighborhood, it's a war.
But there is one way. One man who won't be pushed. Charles Bronson.
What's the problem? Now you're gonna die.
It'll be just like before, Mr. Vigilante, with one important difference. You're gonna work for me.
People have got to start to fight back and hard.
I sent them a message.
That's him. I'll take care of him.
And now, he's in the middle of a war.
See what you done? You got me mad.
In a world gone mad, there is only one law. His. Charles Bronson, Death Wish 3. Bronson's back in New York, bringing justice to the streets. Charles Bronson, Death Wish 3.
So I'll just, as usual, give you a little bit of background on the film before we talk about it. So actually, Ben, before I do get into the background of Death Wish 3, maybe we'll have a chat about Death Wish franchise up to this point, because I'll be honest, I've never seen Death Wish or Death Wish 2. They've never ever appealed. And based on the quality of Death Wish 3 and Death Wish 4, it's like, I don't think I should bother. But the first two are actually held in quite good regard, aren't they?
No. The first one is. You've been strongly misled of these. The second one's. Now, the first one is to me. I mean, I don't. I don't rate Charles Bronson very highly as an actor. Sorry, Bronson fans. He's okay. But I think in Death Wish he gives his best performance I've ever seen him give. And I'm not being mean because I think it's a good film. I think it's one of the best films of the 70s. And it's not. If you go on the rest of the franchise, which is Bronson loses a family member, friend, etc., takes the streets, guns people down. It's a lot better than that. It's a lot more to it than that. In Death Wish, he's mild-mannered architect, Paul Kersey, and his wife and daughter are attacked in his apartment. His wife is killed, and his daughter's left traumatized and ends up being a catatonic. And you get a very slow descent into helplessness. And he's obviously a guy who just blows a fuse and loses it. And I think it's about an hour into the film before he actually wastes his first creep. And he vomits after doing it because he's in a state of panic. So he's not the urban commando yet of the later franchises. And it's a good film. It's all right, yeah. There was a great review of it which said it's audience exploitation at its zenith. And it is, because there is a mugger in every dark corner of New York City. And Bronson wastes no time in killing them all. But it's good. It's got a good supporting cast from Vincent Gardenia as a cop charged with bringing him down. And it sort of plays out like an urban western. And it's really good. And it was... the second one was canon. The first one was produced by Paramount and Dino De Laurentiis. So it's got like a good pedigree. It was a good script by Wendell Mays, who I think did The Poseidon Adventure. And it's based on a book. The book is completely different. It's the same story, but it's a different take on it where, it's a very slim volume. It's much the same, but it's sort of same but different, where there was an argument where the film portrayed him as a hero. I never got that. I thought he was a very depressed guy. The second film was made by Canon and in partnership with Paramount and others. I can't remember, Columbia. And it was going to be one of the first. They wanted it to be the first big movie of the 80s for Canon, and it was going to be directed by Menachem Golan. And Bronson was interested. He said, "There's no film, there's no sequel. It doesn't go anywhere. It finished." And he offered him $1 million, and he'd never been offered that before. He said, "Oh fuck it, I'll go on then."
Yeah, all right then.
So he did the sequel, only if they'll bring Michael Winner back. So they got Winner back to direct it, and the story was basically just a retread of Death Wish, and it's very cheap, and it was gimmicky in that Winner inserted like the notorious rape of the housemaid, which is all it's remembered for. Really, is that the housemaid is attacked by 5 muggers in a house invasion, and then Bronson returns. Hey,
Jeff Goldblum was one of those rapists, I think, if I remember rightly.
In the first one, yeah, in Death Wish, he was, yeah.
Oh, the first one, sorry.
In Death Wish 2, it's Lawrence Fishburne and his gang. And then so that sort of, he knew what he was doing. He sort of got some notoriety to it. Do you know what I mean? And it opened quite strongly in 1982. I think they opened it in February, but there was no competition in the cinemas, and it did really well. But it's the same film. It's much the same, and sort of Bronson sleepwalks through it. Do you know what I mean? And it's just ridiculous. But it made money. It did quite well. It actually did more than well. It did really well for Canon. And then it did Death Wish 3, which
cool.
Again, what I can say is that by the time you get to Death Wish 3 and Death Wish 4, you are absolutely fucking miles away from the original source film. Do you know what I mean? You couldn't be any further away. And it might as well be a different actor and a different film. But, I mean, it was a first-time watch for you. So I'm dying to hear what you think of it, because this is the first time you've seen it. It's got to be good, hasn't it?
Yeah. So I'll just give a little bit of background on the movie, and then we'll talk about them. So I actually did see Death Wish 3 about I don't know. I have seen it before, but a very, very long time ago, and I don't really remember that much of it. So it did feel like a first time watch. But yeah, so you've just give us a little breakdown there on the first 2 movies, and you said Death Wish 2 was really successful. So following that success, apparently Canon Films proceeded in signing sort of film contracts with their prestigious actors and directors. I know, yeah. So their most reliable sort of products, if you like, were action films that starred, Charles Bronson, Chuck Norris, Michael Dudikoff, like American Ninja 20. So the new sequel to Death Wish was announced at the 1984 Cannes Film Festival. And Bronson sort of haggled with Canon over his fee. So they went and offered the role to Chuck Norris, who was going to be the all-new Paul Kersey in Death Wish 3. But Chuck Norris, another sort of acting plank of wood, turned down the movie, saying that the violence in the film was too negative. And they developed, so a screenwriter called Dan Jacoby developed the concept of Paul Kersey facing down a street gang which terrorizes elderly citizens. So Death Wish 3 had a $10 million budget, and his payday was bumped up from Death Wish 2. He was paid $1.5 million. And director Michael Winner was back, but I think Michael Winner came back because his last two films, The Wicked Lady and Scream for Help, were box office flops, and Winner was in need of a surefire hit. So he decided against retaining the grim tone of the previous two Death Wish films in favour of going a bit Rambo and a bit gung-ho for the third film. Bronson said the film was nearly the same as the first two Death Wishes that came before, except this time he's not alone. It is a very violent picture, but it all falls within the category of the story. Yeah, all right, Charles, nice one, mate. Bronson did, however, he added that there are men on motorbikes, an element that's threatening, throwing bottles and that sort of thing, and I machine gun them. That, to me, is excessive violence, and it is unnecessary. It didn't stop him appearing, though, and he went on to star in another 78 Death Wish films. So filming took place in New York before it moved to London for the majority of the filming. So there's a bit of background. So it seems the only bit of violence that Charles objected to was the bit where he walks around with one massive fuck-off machine gun from World War II, and he uses it to kill about 300 people in 5 minutes, which is, quite a fun sequence. So yes. So as I said, I did see this, a long time ago on Guild Home Video, I believe it was. I think I only watched it because I knew that Marina Sirtis got her tits out. So obviously Marina Sirtis from Star Trek The Next Generation plays Councillor Troy. She gets her norks out in it, but it wasn't the film I was thinking of. I think in the... there's another film where she plays a prostitute, and there's this, I think it's a slasher called Blind Date, directed by Nico Masterakis, I think, which came out around the same time. And obviously I was a 12-year-old boy or whatever, and it was like, oh yeah, you see Councillor Troy's tits in this film. And there's a scene in Blind Date where she plays a prostitute, and she gets him out so that would titillate a young 12-year-old boy. But the scene where she gets her norks out in this one isn't a titillation scene because she's being attacked. So yeah, it's an early role from Marina Sirtis. Her character Maria just seems to get attacked in every fucking single scene that she's in. That's the only reason she's in the film, and we'll get to her death when we get there, because her death's actually quite stupid and makes no sense whatsoever. So yes, back to the start. So yes, Brosnan is back as Paul Kersey, the unluckiest man in cinema. If you're related to him or you're friends with him, do yourself a favour and just get away as far as you can. So Kersey's visiting an old friend in New York called Charlie, which apparently has degenerated into the roughest city in the world. As soon as Kersey gets off his Greyhound bus, he's surrounded by people just getting mugged all around him as he's just walking through the bus station. People just getting mugged in the background, and he's just walking there with his suitcase and not really paying much attention because he hasn't gone into vigilante mode yet, so he's okay. He's just walking through the bus station. So Kersey gets to Charlie's apartment. He's lying there dying after being attacked by hoodlums. These are the hoodlums that are targeting all the elderly residents in the apartment block. And the cops arrive and arrest Kersey, assuming he did it. So then we have Maverick Police Chief Richard Schreiker, played by Ed Lauter, who decides to throw Kersey into the cells overnight to teach him a lesson. I don't know, every time I see a film and someone gets thrown into the police cells, I just always think of, yeah, from Trading Places. My mind automatically goes there. I just think, it ain't cool being no jive turkey so close to Thanksgiving. Yeah! So that's just every time. Anyway, so yeah, Kersey gets thrown into the cells, but there's no Barry White-looking motherfucker there going, yeah! But instead, he encounters Big Bad Fraker, who's the main villain of the movie, played by Gavan O'Hurley. Now, for the rest of this section of the show, I'm just going to be referring to Fraker as Bargain Bin Kurgan, because he just looks like a really cheap version of Kurgan from the Highlander films. But Fraker is the gang leader of the hoodlums who were terrorizing the neighborhood that Brosnan's friend Charlie lived in. And then a stupid plot twist, and then it's sort of the whole reason why Kersey becomes vigilante again and starts dealing with these people is the Chief Shirker or Schreiker. Is it Shirker or Schreiker? I don't know. But anyway, he lets Kersey out of the cells and says, "I admire you, and yes, I admire you." And I think, does he link him back to like sort of being the vigilante from the first two movies? I don't know if he does. I can't remember, but
yeah, he does. Yeah.
He lets him out. Yeah, okay. And he lets him out of prison on the condition that he'll secretly work for him and do his thing around the neighborhood and become vigilante and take care of the hoodlums. So Kersey agrees and heads back to Charlie's apartment. Now, this is the thing that made me laugh. So I think the film, I don't know if it's been about 12 hours or something, but it's like it's the morning after Charlie died, and he gets back to the apartment, and Bennett's there, who's played by Martin Balsam, who's sort of his whole role in the film is Captain Exposition, but he just sort of says, Charlie's you've missed the funeral. It was a great funeral. He's like, he fucking died like 10 hours ago. He was like, but yeah, he's got out of the cells and he's missed his mate's funeral already. His funeral, they work quick. They obviously, the undertakers work really fucking quick in that neighborhood. It's like, yeah, just get him out, get him in the ground, bang, there you go. Fine, it's like from death to the ground in 3 hours. So, so I thought that was quite funny. But he does get he gets to live in Charlie's apartment while he's taking on these hoodlums. So, I mean, this film is, God, it has like a really. So that's the setup. That's the basics. That's where we get to the point where, it's Kersey versus Bargain Bin Kurgan taking on the hoodlums. Oh, yeah, and we'll just mention Deborah Raffin, who is the love interest. She plays Catherine Davis from the Public Defender's Office, who's there to sort of help Kersey when he gets out of the cells. And she takes an interest in Kersey and becomes the romantic lead, which means, she is going to be dead by the end of the movie. Spoilers! But there we go. So, yeah, Ben, there's something about this film. It just looks cheap, and it looks dirty, and it looks sleazy. And that must be intentional, right? What do you think?
I don't know. I'm still getting over Charlie's really, really, really quick funeral. Which I don't know. It could be that maybe Kersey was in there for weeks. We don't know. I was thinking, I've seen this film dozens of times. And it's the first time I even noticed it. It's like, it shows how much I paid. Sometimes I just blot this shit out. But yeah, it's like, hold on. Not only was he murdered, so he's a murder victim, so there must have been like a post-mortem to find out how long he was dead. I mean, when like people die in this country, it takes them a week to 10 days before they get buried. So they must have had like the hearse waiting outside. You know what I mean? The muggers must have tipped the hearse off. That look, this guy's going to be dead in half an hour. You might want to be ready. I start outside reading newspapers, getting ready to like with a coffin open. It's fucking bizarre. Yeah, you're right. It does have a really strange, grimy, grainy look to it. But Death Wish, the original one, does, and I think it comes from his background of, I wouldn't say like documentary star maker, because he's a fucking terrible filmmaker. Barring Death Wish, I think maybe everyone's got one good film in him, and that was it. The weird thing was, it was like his career was cyclical all the time. Winners, he did Death Wish, and then he did nothing. So they offered him Death Wish 2, and he had a hit, and then he did nothing again. Like, he just kept fucking coming up with these turkeys. So he did Death Wish 3. So you're right, yeah, it does have a strange sort of grimy, horrible, cheap look to it, and I don't know whether that's the film stock Cannon used to use, because, let's face it, they weren't really, as much as they loved film, and I have to admire Cannon for that. He loved films and he loved the process of films. He just wasn't very good at it. Just like me at college, I loved TV production and stuff. I just wasn't very good at it. The lens camera. Yeah, sorry, yeah. Oh, camera. Oh, we needed the camera, did we? Yeah, I didn't know. Yeah. And the tape goes into the camera. Yeah. Okay, I just thought it just happened. So it's sort of a bit like that, as much as they loved it, they weren't great, and as much as Michael Winner liked making films, he wasn't great either. So yeah, it has got a really strange, sleazy look to it. And then again, watched it now as like a sort of middle-aged guy. My sister bought me this off a car boot sale, Death Wish 3. And I remember, you're right, I get the big box Guild Home video, and I remember all the trailers of it. And me and my mates used to watch this all the time because it was so shit. But we fucking loved it. And I watched it as a middle-aged man, you're thinking, what's the purpose of the gangs? They're all really scruffy and look like the smell, and I can't be happy with that. And they must say to each other, you really smell. You've been wearing that green vest, that crop top vest for weeks now, man. You need to get changed. Why are you nicking money off people? What do you do with it? And I don't get it. They're not like, it's not like running like this gang culture where they steal everything. But they're still really poor and sleazy and grimy. It's like a fucking upper class person's wanky vision of what low class people look like. Working class people, this is how they live. And they all have like really shitty apartments. Like, usually you're going to like force people out to live in their apartment, not to live in a fucking basement with rats. Like they're living it. I don't know. I'm going off on a tangent. It's strange.
It's true though. It's a good point.
Strange. Yeah, it is weird, isn't it? It's like, what do you do with it? And people say, well, they do drugs, which we'll get to in Death Wish 4. The drugs. Those damn drugs.
They reminded me of Zed's gang from Police Academy 2. I thought Zed was going to pop out.
Just stupid.
Crazy! I was off expecting that to happen. But no, we had Bargain Bin Kurgan instead. But never mind, there you go.
Yeah, there's some great characters, isn't the Giggler for a start? He's fucking great. He's just Basil Exposition. He laughs when he runs. Like, oh no shit. No, get your name from. What did he see? He killed a girl doing that last week. He stuck a knife in her skull doing that. How? How did he run? Stick a knife? He must be fucking brilliant. I like to have seen that. But Bennett's like just watches it like it's like your typical nosy neighbour who watches everything and actually these scumbags. So you've got like this strange group of muggers, and I remember Alex Winter being interviewed for Electric Boogaloo, the documentary, and was fucking scathing about Cannon and how they went about. And he said he only did the film because Charles Bronson was in it, and Charles Bronson was like a legendary Hollywood actor from the old days, and he said he wanted to watch him work. He said it was more like watching a golf lesson, that he would wait in his limousine between setups, and then they would drive his limousine, however like small a distance. Like he said, at one stage it was something like 10 feet to his setup, and he'd get out, do his lines, get back in, and that would be it. He said he never saw him, he never spoke to him, or interacted with him, and then you couldn't get paid off him. They wouldn't pay you. They were bastards. But yeah, I don't know yet. It's got a deliberately grimy, strange look. It's got a fucking massive underground garage. I only noticed that the other night where when Marie is on the screen, she's obviously about to be attacked every single time. My favourite one is the coming out of the supermarket of the guy, lend me $5. And it's just walking for that. And they do we need those bully guys back from Karate Kid 3, where one of them actually kneels down behind Barry Ortelli from Brookside, Maria's husband, and pushes him over like he used to in the playground. What's that supposed to do? What's the matter, Barry Ortelli from Brookside? Now can we rape your wife? It's really fucking childish. The guy who does it with the green crop top on, I only found this out a couple of weeks ago, used to do a fitness thing with Mad Lizzie on TVM in the 80s. He used to do this thing, and it's on YouTube. And he doesn't like mug people while he's doing it. He's like, no, yeah, we're really going to stretch now. We're really going to stretch. Like, give us your fucking money. You can sort of notice that he's got this weird sort of dance thing about him, and when Kersey runs up and punches him, he does this weird sprawl onto the ground. If you notice, he's just like arch, and then he hits the ground with his hands out, and it's really strange, like a proper choreographed dance move. But it's so strange, isn't it? He moves into the apartment and decides to take everybody on, and he's fucking old, man, and no one wears vigilante chic like Kersey with his. No one quite combines a black leather jacket and a brown jumper. He looks like vigilante at fucking Littlewoods, is he? Vigilante at CNA. His combination is just weird. He can't do anything. There's like a really. The music's recycled from Death Wish 2. When I'm out killing muggers, I always wear this brown jumper. It keeps out the cold and the scum, only from CNA. Very weird, a weird cast of characters. So you've got like Martin Balsam as Bennett, who've all just had living in a shithole, and he lives there because he fixes parking meters. So you make why do you live here? Oh, because I fix clocks for taxi cabs. Right? Why do you live here? It doesn't make any sense. I live in the crime capital of the world. You can move, Yeah, shut up. Anyway, I like watching people get attacked, all right? So you've got him. You've got the Kaprovs who live on the ground floor. They live in the basement, don't they? The Kaprovs, who Kersey insists they cook for him. You know, and they do because they're shit scared. I assume. And he came in. What is it?
I would
something cooking.
for him.
It smelled great. And he goes to the door. And what does he say? When I came in, I smelled something cooking. It smelled great. And she goes, "It's just stuffed cabbages." Oh, that sounds fucking awful.
It sounds rank.
What? What's the cabbage stuffed with? Cabbage?
Nice.
As you call catering on a budget, you can only afford cabbages for the show. Can't do chicken. We're saving the chicken for the scene later on with Deborah Raffin. She's going to cook Kersey chicken later. We can only afford cabbages for this scene.
That's right. Yeah, tripe and cabbage for that scene. There you go. Nice. Yeah.
So no wonder he leaves the table and goes out and shoots someone. But,
yeah. Because he does, doesn't he? Because he's trying to make his car, right? He's having dinner with the Kaprovs, and he's like, that's the thing I don't get. When he agrees to be the vigilante, he sort of, the first thing he does, he goes and gets himself a P.O. box for some reason for his post. I don't know why. And then he goes and buys he goes and gets quite a nice new car. I don't think he just uses it. I think he uses that car as bait for the first two killings, and you never see it again. I don't think he ever uses his fucking car again. So he spends all this money on a car just so he can kill a couple of people. So he's having dinner with the nice Kaprovs, and he's like, "Excuse me a minute." He's like Arnie, but he's not quite. His accent's not quite as strong as Arnie, but his acting delivery is quite Arnie. So so he goes out to the two guys trying to nick his car, doesn't he? And he just blows them. He just blows them away, doesn't he? And then he goes back to his tripe and cabbage, which is lovely. So yeah, and like I say, he never actually ever uses the car again. His car probably got completely fucking trashed after that. And it's just like the wheels got stolen, and it's just sat on bricks for the rest of the film. So yeah, very odd. It is very odd. Now let's talk about. Bargain Bin Kurgan. Let's talk about. Actually, I've forgotten his name. Is it Fraker? I've forgotten his name already because I'm just calling him Bargain Bin Kurgan. So
Fraker,
yeah, Fraker. What else has he been in? Is he the guy that played Brad in Superman 3?
He is. He had a good run. He was in Never Say Never Again and Superman 3 and Death Wish 3. They hit a really low stride, I suppose. And
that was his hot streak.
That was his hot streak. He was in Happy Days. He was originally Richie's older brother in Happy Days.
Wasn't he? I had no idea.
Yeah, he got sent off to college, and he's never mentioned again until he was supposed to be the Fonzie of the show, like the older wise brother who would tell Richie how to finger birds properly and stuff, and what drugs to take. And he got sent off to college, and they got Henry Winkler in to be the Fonz, and he was much more popular. And he's never mentioned again until the very last episode. There's like an in-joke and they say, "Whatever happened to so and so?" I don't know. Yeah, I think it was his... I don't know. He raped Marina Sirtis in Death Wish 3. Oh, can't be too bad then. Yes, that was his hot streak. He was good old Brad. Yeah. What's he called? Good old Brad. I'm going to say Whittaker, but it's not Whittaker. Brad Whittaker was in Living Daylights. Good old Brad, whatever. Yeah. Brad Douglas. Brad Wilson. No.
Brad Wilson, yeah.
Good old Brad.
So yeah, he's not the most scariest of villains, is he? He's a bit, And as you say, I don't know what he's. I'm sorry, I know. I just with his really terrible haircut, it's like someone's just like got a pair of clippers and just shaved down the middle of his head and then drawn on his head with a felt tip. And because then all the gangsters, not gangsters are they? All the hoodlums have like a stupid fucking logo on their head that gets someone's just attacked them with a felt tip pen. And I don't know why they do that. Is it just to tell people what gang they're in? I don't know. It's fucking weird, man. It's weird, but yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I don't find his character menacing at all. And he's supposed to be like the big bad, He keeps calling Charles Bronson's apartment throughout the movie just to like tease him, going, "Hiya," and just sort of, you've got me really mad now, so I'm going to kill someone. And he's just like, he's not frightening at all. He isn't. He's just He's just got no menace. I don't think he had any menace at all. I just thought he was, as I say, every time I saw him, I just thought, yeah, it's bargain bin Kurgan. So let's let's take a moment to talk about the the romantic subplot of the movie. So we, as I mentioned earlier, we have Deborah Raffin as Catherine Davis, who's like the public defender's, who works at the public defender's office, who takes interest in Kersey when he gets let out of the cells, and then she just sort of turns up in the middle of the neighborhood and is like, "Hey, you want to come to my place for a chicken?" So obviously Chuck agrees, and he goes over to Catherine's house for a chicken and other things for dessert, and it's just like, I don't know, it's like, why do they insist on putting in these romantic subplots like for Bronson, like, because he's got no fucking charisma whatsoever, and there's like, they only have one sort of key scene after dinner where Catherine starts giving this right-wing rant that would have sit quite happily on Fox News, where she kind of talks about how everyone's got to be killed and all this kind of thing, and then let's talk about her death scene, because it's like, I was talking to you about it, Ben, and you said something which was absolutely perfect, and we'll get there in a second. So, like, he and Catherine drive back to the rough neighborhood, and for some reason, like unknown reason, Charles decides, I keep calling him Charles or Bronson or Kersey or whatever, you know what I mean. So Kersey gets out of his car and he goes to the post office, doesn't he, to pick up his mail from the PO box. And as he's doing that, is it Bargain Bin Kurgan, or is it just one of Kurgan's gang members? I can't remember. But
no, it's Fraker, yeah.
Yeah, it is Fraker. It's Bargain Bin Kurgan. He turns up and just twats Catherine over the head and sort of knocks her out. And the car is on top of a hill. So then the car starts rolling down the top of the hill, and then it's a bit like Last of the Summer Wine. I just sort of compo like rolling down the hill and his wheelbarrow, but the car's sort of rolling down the hill, and it's like, oh my god, and it's coming across a crossroads. It's gonna enter a crossroads intersection, and it does, and then it sort of gently rolls into another car and then just explodes, and it just completely explodes, even though like the car just grazes the other car. And as you said, Ben, when I was talking to you about it, it's that scene in Top Secret, isn't it? It just reminds me of in Top Secret where it just goes ding and blows up. But there we go. There you go. So now Kersey's lover is dead and is the casualty of the hoodlums, and obviously that makes it a bit more personal for him now. So there we go. And to be honest, I really enjoyed the last sort of 20 minutes, half an hour, because it just goes batshit, doesn't it? It goes crazy. So like, Catherine's dead, Kersey's on the warpath, like, and it's like, just before we get to the climax, there's bits throughout the film that just reminded me of Home Alone. I wonder if John Hughes saw this in the mid-80s and he thought, oh, that's quite funny. Maybe I should do that, but I'll do it with kids. So there's like, yeah, that sounded wrong. Sorry, but he's setting up like traps, isn't he, in the apartment? Like, he's setting up all like these booby traps. So he's putting like nails onto a board on the floor. So because like this guy keeps jumping through his ground floor apartment window, so he sticks like a shitload of nails on the floor, And then there's the great one with the plank of wood that's just got the knife on it, which just springs up as soon as someone walks through the window. So he's like, Kersey's like teaching all these nice elderly apartment residents how to like set up these deadly booby traps. And like I say, it just reminded me of Home Alone a little bit. But we'll get to the climax now. And the thing that so Bennett, Martin Balsam, who's Captain Exposition, his shop gets targeted. Because everything, it's just escalation after escalation. Everything's just like ramping up and ramping up. So they finally go after Bennett's fucking clock shop or whatever it is, and then Bennett ends up in hospital, doesn't he? And the thing you said earlier about like he's just the nosy neighbor, the thing that makes me laugh about the whole sort of climax of the film. So you've got Kersey and Barry or Terry from Brookside, whose wife has died, and actually we haven't talked about that. Let's talk about that first. I'm sort of skipping around a bit, but hey, like, so Marina Sirtis is Maria, and we've talked about in every single scene she gets attacked, but there's this notorious scene where she gets raped, I think, and then she gets I'm not laughing at the rape, sorry, she gets raped, and then she gets taken to I'm just laughing at what comes next.
It's
no.
just
Yeah, so and then she gets taken to the hospital, and like Kersey and Barry and Terry from Brookside go to the hospital, and Kersey rings the hospital and she says, "Oh yeah, she's okay. She's badly shaken and she's just got a broken arm, but she's all right." So like, "Oh yeah, nice one." So then Kersey and Barry or Terry from Brookside get to the hospital, and it's like, "She's dead." It's like, "Hey, hang on, she's." Kersey's like, "You told me on the phone half an hour ago she only had a broken arm," and it's like, "No, she's dead." It's like, fucking hell, she died of a broken arm. What? What's that about?
Worst hospital ever.
I know.
Again, it's like it's another top secret note, isn't it? Surely it must be another top secret note of let me know if there's any change in his condition. She's dead. I'm watching that as a 12-year-old thinking, and tell me, I'm thinking, he died of broken arm. I was like, I don't think so. No, I don't think it's ever been done. But I would like to have expanded on that to say, what does he say that the arm was badly broken and some of the blood vessels came loose and we dropped her and she fell out the back of the ambulance and we did everything we could, but we backed over her and I'm sorry. Someone shot her. I would have bought that much more. We did everything we could, but Wile E. Coyote dropped the piano on her. Oh, fuck no. It's incredible, isn't it? And have you noticed that she's wearing the same clothes throughout the entire film?
Yeah, she just wears she's got one outfit.
She's got the same outfit on all the way through. Yeah. And someone tries. You're right. She's attacked in almost every scene she's in. She can't get away from it. It's. I don't know. But yeah, they drag her away, and it's because Death Wish films are notorious for having a rape scene, and they told him to dial it back a little bit. And he sort of did for this, and but I think she died of a broken arm. I'm sorry, but the whole thing is cracking. She's very shaken. Oh no, shit! And she's just got a couple of bruises and that. Yeah, she's dead. What? Oh, your wife? No, your wife's dead. No. She's got a broken arm. Not one there. She fell down the stairs. Oh no, your wife was fucked. She was ragged all over by a gang of psychotic youths. No, she's dead. Sorry, she died. She dead on arrival. What were you told? You told me she had a broken arm. No. That was somebody else. No, your wife's dead. No.
Oh, cheers.
Put this way, Mr. Perry or Terry, but if she hadn't died of a broken arm, she'd have drowned in spunk. So I'm sorry. It's so bad. It's so bad. It but the whole thing with the fantastic bit with Bennett exposition where they're living in a state of fear, and he just happens to have in his wardrobe two of the biggest fucking guns ever seen since D-Day. And he's just got them there. They're still working. Bronson's like, do me a favor, don't use these. Like, what? People trying to break in and kill everybody. I mean, you've alluded to it. You talked about the Home Alone section where it's the Kaproff's apartment. They live in a basement apartment, and the baddies break in and steal the television. And they tell them, really strange. It always makes me laugh. We'll come back anytime. But why? They're not going to go and buy a television. You just break in and stay there, surely. But it's a wide open window, and they're saying, the ground floor is the worst. They're coming at will, and you're thinking, maybe just put some bars up. That'll stop them coming. And you can open the windows, and they can't come in, but no. He rips up one of the floorboards. He destroys the apartment just to put his trap on. It'll only work once. It only does take out some guy's front teeth. It's just fucking and putting loads of nails in a kitchen cabinet door and pointing his bathroom like, just close your window, nail it shut. I don't know. But easier. It's just fucking strange, isn't it? It's really weird, and it's sort of as it goes on, like he's now got this growing array of like guns, like a small arsehole. He buys this. What does he say? Wildy's coming, and Wildy turns out to be a 475 Magnum, and they're all complicit. You know what I mean? All these pinko stiffs are stood around watching him as he puts his gun together. And he gives a speech, and then says he's going to have to get some ice cream, and they're like, watch him as he goes off to kill someone. Where are you going? I'm off to get some ice cream. It's a free country, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Not when
it's
you're
America. yeah.
This is America, isn't it? We can shoot people indiscriminately, can't we? Yeah. It seems to be a growing problem, especially in schools. And he just goes on the street and blows this guy in half, doesn't he? And it's just fucking strange. And everyone's cheering in this. I mean, I know it's only a movie, but you're like watching it as a mature adult as I am, and I've not just been laughing.
Yes, that's right.
Someone down for a broken arm. It comes across as really weird now that he just indiscriminately like he's having dinner with the cap robs and he excuse me and goes out and shoots two people and comes back and finishes his He clearly doesn't care anymore. This guy's past the point of no return. He really is. And you're right, the last 20 minutes is just fucking incredible. It's just total fucking carnage because they haven't got anything else to do and everyone's just killing everybody else. And poor Barry or Teddy from Brookside is just armed with some sort of bike pump and he's just going around not inflating people's tyres on purpose. You know, you got a flat tyre? Well, I've got my bike pump here, I'm not going to inflate your tyre. Oh, you bastard.
That'll
learn you. I was maybe just doing that thing where you should put balled up bits of newspaper and you could spit, wouldn't you? Spit with newspaper and put it in the end of your bicycle pump and fight with people in your eyes. Ah, my eye! You're like, no, I can't. I'm not going to rip anyone. That'll learn you. And then Casey's running around again, like he's not really bothered if Barry or Terry's there or not. He's just really concerned. He doesn't help him at all. You know, he's got loads of guns, and he could have take this gun. It's better than that bike pump. He doesn't. He just lets him go out with a bike. And again, we've got to mention it again. The funeral that Maria doesn't get a funeral. At least Charlie got a very quick funeral. And Maria doesn't get a mention, and he seems really perky. Because it's like 24 hours, his wife was gang raped and murdered, and he's like really, really like chipper. She's just not mentioned ever again. Yeah. Well, you think he'd be like down a boozer or something, or I don't know, losing it and attacking people. And he's just got his bike pump out ready to take them all on with Casey. He's like putting a bulletproof vest on, getting like his fucking tank with a handle on it, and like loads of and then like the big guns, and he's like carrying the cardboard box for him as he's mowing people down with this big fucking gun that Bennett's give him. And it's bizarre to just kill everybody. Everybody gets killed.
Yeah,
everyone.
It's like 1 minute Shirker turns up and says, you know, oh, you need to dial it back a bit. You know, you're killing too many people. Like halfway through the film, Shirker turns up and says, you know, oh, you need to dial it down. We have to take you into protective custody because, you know, the stories of the vigilantes getting into the newspaper and you're killing too many people. You know, you're doing too good a job. And then by the end of the film, Shirker just turns up. He's like, fuck it, you know, let's just kill them all. So you've got Shirker and Kersey running around the streets, like just blowing everyone away indiscriminately, while you know Bargain Bin Kurgan's called in another reinforcement biker gang, hasn't he? Like he gets on his bat phone in his basement, he gets on his gang phone, and he basically just talks to someone and says, "Yeah, we need more people," and then he calls in his reinforcements. So, you know, by the end of the film, you've got these biker gangs just turning up, terrorizing everyone on their rally choppers, and then you've got like Brosnan walking around with that big fuck off gun from World War II, just blowing everyone away, and it's just carnage. It's just awesome. Like the last 20 minutes is, I really enjoyed the last 20 minutes. And you talked about Bennett being the nosy neighbour. Like he spends the climax of the film just watching the carnage from his hospital window, just laughing, and you just expect him to have like a box of just expect him to have a box of popcorn stood at the window, like, look, someone's gonna die. It's just like, so. Oh man, it's just fucking. It is. It's just carnage, and the film just ends with like, you know, obviously everyone. It's sort of there's the big, you know, there's the big final face off with Bargain Bin Kurgan and Kersey, and it's in Charlie's apartment, and I think Bargain Bin Kurgan has the edge on Kersey. He's about to shoot him, and then Shrieker turns up, or Shirker, whatever his name is, and shoots him. And you think, oh, that's it, he's killed him. But no, there's like, you know, it's like a horror movie where the villain isn't dead. So Bargain Bin Kurgan gets up, is like, I've got a bulletproof vest on, you know, ha ha ha. And then Kersey does the only thing he can, and he just gets a rocket launcher out of the cupboard and just blows him away. So he kills Bargain Bin Kurgan, but then basically destroys the apartment block building as well. So he's, you know, So for the whole movie, he's been protecting the residents of the apartment block from these hoodlums. But at the end of the film, he basically destroys the entire building by killing Bargain Bin Kurgan in a very over the top, wonderful sequence at the end there. And then the film just ends with Kersey just he picks up his suitcases, which are handily packed, and just walks down the street.
Tell you what I noticed watching it the other night was when Kersey's walking down the street and the titles roll, Barry Ortelli from Brookside, and the kid's another kid who's hero worshipping Kersey's, he kills people.
Yeah,
Stood by a lamppost, very casually, just stood watching him leave. That's bizarre. I never noticed that before. The bus just stood there. And I'm like, that's weird. That's really strange. Because obviously Barry Ortelli's obviously complicit in murder. He's killed a few people. And you're right. It's just like the face-off at the end, and he's just got a bazooka in his pocket. You know, he carries a... And it's like a weird setup, isn't it, earlier on, where he just unpacks it as part of his shopping that he keeps getting from... Can we mention an over-enthusiastic actor playing a postmaster? It's fucking great. He's at, like, the hire a box for a month. Yes, 322. And there's a great point. He's like, I'm really going to own this. Even this scene for, like... I'm going to be in this movie for 10 seconds. I'm going to own this thing. And he's fucking great. Yeah, he just points at the thing. It's fucking brilliant. I'd like to see more of him, and I'd like to see what he did after that one. I thought that's fucking brilliant. But yeah, it's so much. It's just so from start to finish. It's unbelievable. Even the trailers, the trashy trailers on the videotape are entertaining. I think that's why I used to really like it. It's just so stupid from start to finish. It's fucking brilliant. That the murder is just it's a given, you know, and he's not bothered. He's just wasting creeps. And there's just so many. I mean, there's whole sites devoted to sink plunger guy. The gang catch a rival gang member on their turf, and they beat him up, and then they all charge off, all cheering. And one guy just picks up a sink plunger. I don't know quite what he's going to do with it, but he broke it. It was horrible, man. He broke it and unblocked my sink. Oh my god! And I just don't know what he was going to do with it. It's just bizarre. So he's like, I mean, they've since said it was done on purpose. It's like an in-joke, as if like they'd stopped caring at this point. Winner had stopped caring. Bronson died halfway through, and still managed to finish this and Death Wish 4 and 5, and no one noticed. And it's just fucking, it's bizarre, isn't it? I've never known anyone. It's not that he's like a bad. Well, he's a bad actor. He doesn't emote, does he? He doesn't. There's nothing there. It's like a shell with a gun. Like he's what Michael Myers looks like if you take the mask off. He's like that sort of acting. It's like that sort of emotion. It's very minimal emotion. You know, he doesn't even. You know, when he's interacting with what's she called? Karen Davis, Lisa Davis's sister from Airplane. A little Lisa Davis is due for a heart transplant. And maybe she grew up to be and changed her name to Karen, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But just even as interacting with her, it's very strange. And still, I wondered if they're in the same room and he just acted against her like a brush turned upside down. I don't know. I remember James Coburn was a good friend of Charles Bronson's, and after he died, he gave an interview and he said, well, he was a complicated guy. He said he was very quiet. He seldom spoke. If he did speak, he was usually angry about something, usually because he was so short, and he lacked any form of insight. And they said, well, what do you mean by that? I said, well, he couldn't read between the lines. He had nothing. You know, if you give him a film script, he couldn't understand the mechanics of, like, you know, The Great Escape, of why his character was the Tunnel King, and it was very, very like frank. You know, considering he's supposed to be like a good friend of his. Said he was just terrible. He just didn't speak to anybody. But yeah, no, that's. I mean, how can I say? I've watched this a few times, and there's some great edits. There's some great. I couldn't find it's been taken down, or I'm looking somewhere else. But when he shoots the two guys who were staying in his car, someone had re-edited that and called it Deaf Muggers, and it goes on for about 5 minutes where Bronson goes, "Hey, what you doing? What? My car? What you doing?" And he just keeps saying, "What?" He keeps repeating it. It's really annoying, but it's really funny. I always liked it, and. I don't know. It's got some really shit scenes in it, and it was filmed in the UK, and I didn't know that till about 20 years ago. I had no idea that they filmed it in Brixton in like a disused, well, I hope it was disused area of London, and they used the old hospital as a police station. So I think if you look at the police station, I suppose you can tell a little bit that it's the UK. I think, I don't know. I don't know, but I got really confused with the, what's it called? The name of it? Delano Street, where the post office is. I just remember that name stuck out. I wonder where that is in Britain. Like, if that was in the US. They must have filmed something in the US.
Yeah.
But
they did. I think they did shoot some of it in New York, and then they moved to the UK for the rest of it. So, but I think Cannon Films were notorious for that. When like Superman 4 was supposed to be set in Metropolis, and that was filmed in Milton Keynes. So, there you go. So, all right. So we'll move on now to Death Wish 4: The Crackdown.
Two kids looking for a new thrill.
Hey, just like I promised.
Yeah, sure.
But this time, the thrill went too far. Crack has claimed another victim. Dealers are making up their own rules, and no one is able to stop them. Somebody has got to crack down. Who are you?
Death.
Charles Bronson in the biggest death wish ever.
They have to be stopped, Cuzzy.
Death Wish 4: The Crackdown.
Spent a small fortune buying information on the major drug dealers in Los Angeles.
I'll handle this my own way, no interference from you.
He's working to destroy the drug empire.
It's a setup!
It's either him or us.
Now, Bronson is their target. The trap is set.
Here he comes.
The fuse is lit. Bronson is unleashed. Charles Bronson, Death Wish 4: The Crackdown.
So, Cannon Films announced the creation of this new sequel in 1986, estimating it would be ready for release by spring 87. But Cannon were sort of already in financial dire straits by this point. Its greatest box office hit was Missing in Action with good old Chuck Norris from 1984, and that had grossed $38 million domestically. But Cannon, I mean, as you said, Ben, Cannon, you got to admire their work rate. They just churned out film after film after film. Mm-hmm. There's a great thing I found on YouTube that I sent you the other week where it was just like it was like a preview of all Cannon films for 1987, and there was about fucking 50 films that they were planning on making. I mean, half of them never saw the light of day, but just the work rate, just their ambition. Menahem, Golan, and Globus, they loved movies, and they were just trying to churn them out. And they did make, there are some good Cannon movies out there, which we might talk. I keep threatening to talk about Cannon on the show, but we never actually do it. But, but at this point they were they were in trouble, and I think they were trying to make movies for like $5 million. $5 million would be your budget for the entire movie, which, in filmmaking terms is not a lot. So yes, the budget for Death Wish 4, I think, was $5 million. So they replaced Michael Winner with director J. Lee Thompson. So it had, like I said, it had a very lower budget than the other movies, and it had more of a limited release as well. And this was I think this is the seventh film that Bronson had made with director J. Lee Thompson. So Gail Morgan Hickman was assigned to write the movie, and his original idea was to have Brosnan's character Kersey try to reconnect with Jerry Nichols from Death Wish 2, who was played by Jill Ireland. But unfortunately, Ireland was suffering from cancer at the time, so that idea was scrapped. So then the second draft had Kersey taking on international terrorists. But that was also scrapped. Thank goodness. It's like Die Hard, Death Wish combo, I'm not sure. And it's ironic that Bruce Willis actually went on to star in the Death Wish remake directed by Eli Roth, which is supposed to be fucking awful. So they came up with the final script, and it's actually quite an interesting premise. It's Kersey basically playing two drug gangs off against each other, which I thought, was quite an interesting premise. So, yeah, I mean, let's talk about the movie. I mean, it's like, first of all, the first thing I noticed is that it looked, even though it's got probably half the budget of Death Wish 3, one of the first things I noticed, it actually looks nicer. I don't know if it's a different director of photography or something, or it's different film stock. So we talked about how Death Wish 3 looked grimy and sleazy, but this doesn't. There's a really quite nice atmospheric, a nice looking atmospheric scene at the beginning where you're following a lady through a sort of underground car park. and she gets attacked by hoodlums as she's she gets into a car and she tries to start a car and it doesn't start, and then she glances up and there's just like this hooded figure just stood a little bit away from the car, and she's trying to start the car and panicking, and another hooded figure appears, and it's really quite well done. It's quite atmospheric, more atmospheric than anything in Death Wish 3 already, and we've only been in it for a couple of minutes. And then the hoodlums attack the lady in the car, but then Kersey arrives dressed in his CNA vigilante outfit. He's got his black bomber jacket, his brown jumper, and his black trousers. And it's just like, I always remember this from the trailer when they're like, "Who the fuck are you, man?" And he's just like, "Death." And that's it. And he pulls out his gun and just blows him away. But then it's a dream sequence. And like Kersey wakes up, like sweating. And he's like he's having dreams about being a vigilante. He's having dreams about killing people. So it's like,
dreams about murdering people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, no, it's so weird. So yeah, I thought it was quite an interesting take to make it a sort of dream sequence. But that whole sequence is really well done, and it's quite well shot, and it just looks classier than Death Wish 3 already, and we're only 5 minutes in. So, so the plot of the movie is Kersey is now back being an architect. He's gone back to his day job. And he's in a relationship with Karen, played by Kay Lenz. He's been in a relationship for a little while. And Karen's daughter, Erica, who you may recognise as Ellen Griswold from the first Vacation movie. I think, is she in the first Vacation movie? I think she is, isn't she? Yeah. So she's Ellen Griswold in the first Vacation movie. And she's going out for a date with her wrong-un boyfriend, Randy. And we know that he's bad because he smirks roll-up tabs and he drives a yellow sports car. And, this was 1987, so it has a very 80s look to it. So they go to the arcade and hang at the arcade where there's sort of drug dealers hanging around and selling kids drugs. And the next thing we know, Erica is dead. She's died from the drugs. So so Kersey's sort of stepdaughter. He says earlier in the film that he kind of sees her as his own daughter, which obviously yeah. Yeah, as soon as he says that, marked for death. Yeah, you're just gonna die. It's fucking obvious you're gonna die. So yeah, Kersey's stepdaughter, well, not quite, but Kersey's kind of stepdaughter dies from the drugs, and then Kersey immediately slips back into vigilante mode, and he follows Randy to the arcade one night, and he manages to chase one of the drug dealers, and then he sort of kills him with the help of some bumper cars, which sounds a bit weird out of context, but if you watch the film, you'll know what I mean. So yeah, it doesn't take long for the film to kind of slip into action and slip into vigilante mode. And when that first happened, I was thinking, okay, so it's just going to be Brosnan. I keep saying Brosnan. Who's Pierce Brosnan? No, Bronson, not Brosnan. So I'll just call him Kersey. That'll be easier. So I just thought it would be Kersey just going around killing all the drug dealers, but it isn't that at all, and that's what completely surprised me about this movie. So obviously we start off with Kersey blowing the guy away at the bumper cars, and he falls onto the roof of the bumper cars, and sort of as he's dying from a gun wound, he also gets electrocuted by the bumper cars. So then we have a couple of cops turn up. We've got Sergeant Rayner, played by George Dickerson, and Detective Phil Nozaki, played by Soon Tek Oh. And they're on Kersey's case, so they're sort of on the case. They're on the trail of the vigilante, but they can't actually prove anything. And as I said, I thought it would just be Kersey going around blowing all these drug dealers away, but the film goes in a completely different direction. So he's approached by rich newspaper magnate Nathan White with a really bad wig, played by John P. Ryan, and he wants to employ Kersey because of his professional skills. So it seems that everybody in the fucking country knows that Kersey is a vigilante and he's got a history of walking around killing people. So yeah, he's employed by Nathan White to sort of play the two drug gangs off against each other. You got the local drug gangs ran by Ed Zacharias and the Romeo brothers. And all of a sudden, Kersey goes from sort of, mild-mannered architect / vigilante to fucking James Bond. He's like, it's so weird. He's like, he sort of infiltrates a mafia party as a barman working at the mafia party. He's sort of planting bugs in people's phones. He's like a fucking spy all of a sudden. So it's a bit of a complete sort of left turn for the character of Kersey. All of a sudden, he's like into espionage and spying and, playing these two gangs off against each other. But I think it's actually like I say, I just wasn't expecting it at all. So what did you think about that direction of the character, Ben? It's not Kersey from the first Death Wish at all, is it?
Nah, you could be any more further removed. I mean, the argument was, well, what do you expect him to do? You can't just keep killing people like in Death Wish. Well, don't make any more Death Wish films.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about all the time. We were on about it last month with Rocky V. It's like making Jaws that were a shark in it. It's like doing that. It's just they're just coming up with different ways to do it, and it's just you're right. You're absolutely bang on with the look of the film, and the director J. Lee Thompson did the Guns of Navarone and was quite a cultured director. He sort of went off the rails very quickly. Now, I can't remember if I'm right whether he was an alcoholic, and so he was a recovering alcoholic by this time. And he sort of gone from the Guns of Navarone to doing like really cheap Planet of the Apes sequels. But you can tell that he's like in a different class to Michael Winner, because Michael Winner's clearly ran out of ways to rape a member of Kersey's family. So J. Lee Thompson steps into the director's role, and it just looks better from the opening Moody guy saying, I always really liked this scene. I thought it's so well done. With the appearance under, I think under harsh light and under the three baddies, one tall and two either side of him, so you appear and then they disappear and you attack the car. It's really good. But it's like as if it's from a different film. It doesn't really lead to anything. There's no like crisis of consciousness, which I think is what the dream is supposed to denote, isn't it? That deep down he's no better than the mugs he's killing. And he's got a really big face when he wakes up, and he's like, he's got like widescreen TVs now. His face is massive. It's like, oh fuck, what's happened to Kersey's face? And like, oh, nothing. Oh, it was just a dream. It's not a dream. Oh, shut up, what's up with his face? And and you're right, and it starts off really well, but then it quickly slips back into familiar territory. That Kersey's now got like his new girlfriend, and she's got a daughter, Eric, and he just says it, doesn't he? And you're like, oh, don't say that. I think of her as my own daughter. You're like, oh no, don't say that. I mean, you've already said it, but it has to be pointed out there. Do you know what I mean? That within minutes she's fucking dead. And he gives a speech. I think he gives a speech before she dies of the drugs, about being worried about it, and it's the damn drugs, and he doesn't specify what drugs. It's just the drugs. Like, what drugs? And she's dead. She's took some drugs. She's obviously smoked heroin or something. Or is it wobbly eggs she's been doing? Or what was it, Ease and Whiz or something like that? I don't know. I don't know. It's just the drugs. I think they said I covered all bases. And you're right. It does take a strange left turn, because it goes into that familiar ground where he just shoots people. He finds like the drug dealer, and he shoots him. But like, well, that's not really going to fix it. It's like if you sit and think about it, he can shoot as many people as he wants. He shot all those people in New York. He still didn't save his daughter in Death Wish 2. Do you know what I mean? I could be really, really intellectual about it for a second. If you can be intellectual about a Death Wish film, you probably can't, but that's where it fails straight away. But you're right, yeah, it goes for a different approach because it has to, and he's hired by millionaire wig wearer Nathan Tupper, who's lost his own wife and daughter to the damn drugs, and he hires Kersey to rid LA of damn drug lords, Eddie Jumpers Zachariah and the Romeo Beard crew. So he gives Kersey a small arsenal, and he sets about ridding the world of the damn drugs. And you're right, it's got some good slash bizarre sequences in it where there's a party, isn't it? Jumpers Zachariah is having a party, and Kersey's just there. He's not. He's just no explanation given how he's got where the fucking FBI and the DEA can get. He's just there serving drink and get some more ice, and he's just there. And he's booking the phones and stuff, and I'm sat there thinking, I watch The Sopranos, and the mafia don't use the phones; they never use landlines because they're always tapped. But these fuckers do, and if the DEA must be shit. That's why there's so many damn the drugs in the US in this universe, because they don't listen. If they listen in, they give you everything. So he's tapping the phone. It goes really, really James Bond, and what does he do? He witnesses a murder, and then he nearly gets murdered. And he has like I don't know, the tire iron again, reprises the tire iron gag from Death Wish 3. Even when he throws it away, it's the same. And he sort of knocks a guy out who's going to kill him and runs out of the car. It's really, really fucking strange. And it's not like one after the other, isn't he? He's given like, your next target is this guy. Your next target is that guy. So then he kills this great big opera singing guy. And it's strange. It's very strange.
Yeah.
Jack Bugs. And he breaks into his house. And he's got this thing about putting bugs in phones. Why don't you just kill him? That's what you're supposed to do. He's busy like one of your Boggs comes back because he's forgotten the ticket to the opera. I know, it's realistic as fuck. And he finds him there, and he finds Kersey in his kitchen. He goes, "What are you doing?" "I'm making a sandwich." You know, like, what? Oh, I got the wrong scene.
Yes.
No,
it is
just
the
making
scene,
a sandwich.
Yeah, making
And
a
then a big
sandwich.
fight breaks out. It's just fucking bizarre. You just throw each other around this thing for a minute. You thought, look, you just got to throw him out the window. Just throw him out the fucking window. And he does. And then, but it's got like an interesting twist. It's got like the shootout at the oil field is really good. Apart from, I think there must be at least, let's say, 10 aside. The Romeos and the Zacharias meet to say, look, I think someone's setting each other up, so we'll wipe each other out. And Bronson starts picking them off. That's a trap. And they all start killing each other. And it's like, suddenly there's loads of them. This like shooting goes on for ages. And Julia Kersey shoots one or two of them. And they end up shooting each other. But it's like suddenly like 100 of them. They're all like, there's a fantastic sequence that you must watch where it's shot through a passenger window of the car, and a guy, you see this guy stood and he gets shot and he pirouettes, turns around and sticks his head through the glass. I thought it was a good scene. But I was fucking howling. And people, they've seen it, they'll know what I'm on about. It's just so place and ridiculous. And he shot and like, you wouldn't a cartoon, spins round and round almost, and then just sticks his head through the glass. It's like, what happened there? And it turns out that notorious Nathan Tupe is actually a drug dealer all along, who wants Kersey to wipe out the competition so he can step into the shows. And there you go. And that's what he does. And Kersey finds out, and he's taken away. Oh, no, he doesn't find out, does he? So he goes back to this mansion where Nathan Tupe had hired him. Turns out Nathan Tupe is not really him at all. It's an old guy. And then he starts to twig, and Nathan Tupe decides to kidnap Kersey's new girlfriend, Victim. And Vicky, and he's shot for Victim, and to hold a hostage. And then after Lethal Weapon have cleared out the roller skating ring, Death Wish 4 moves in of a shootout. It's also like the same ending as Lethal Weapon 4. I kept wanting to bump into Martinoff and Riggs. I think it's a nightclub, isn't it, in the end of Lethal Weapon? I think the same look to it.
Yeah, it's got the same look.
It's very strange, you know. Again, it's quite interesting. For some reason, like, they're all waiting and hiding in this roller skating ring. It's like the dry ice is on, and Kersey's just walking very slowly through this fog of dry ice, and no one seems to want to shoot him, and he doesn't want to shoot anybody else. It's like, what's happening here? Have they all forgotten something? And then it all kicks off again, and the inevitable happens. So Nathan says, "No, I'll kill her. If you come in here, I'm going to kill Victim." And Kersey's like, "Well, yeah, it's bound to happen. I'm Paul Kersey. I'm surprised it happened now. I'm surprised he's the longest surviving member of my family." And he does, and then Kersey shoots him. But what I did like the subplot with the two coppers on the case of the vigilante, because it's sort of harked back to, at least it was like a bit of continuity. There's never continuity apart from, he'll say like, mention, my daughter was killed, my wife and daughter were killed in whatever. And that's it. But he never says anything else. There's no comeback. So at least it was like a comeback from Death Wish 2, where the sort of the vigilante killings in Death Wish 2 were mentioned. And the two cops are onto him. Like, oh, yeah, it's quite, I wouldn't say intelligent, but interesting to say the least. You know what I mean? And that cop turns up right at the end, and he's now vindicated. He is the vigilante. He knows he's the vigilante. And he says, he puts a gun to him, says, "You stop or I'll shoot." And Bronson says, do what you have to do, and just walks off into the end credits. And,
into the night.
Into the night to go and kill some creeps.
That's
stuff
right.
Like that. Go and buy a car or something to park up and lure creeps in to shooting people. But yeah, I thought it was. It's great. It's not. It's still fucking terrible. It's still awful stuff. I mean, there's a great scene in a video shop where he goes there. For some reason, these drug dealers work out the back of a video store. Not a video store. We wouldn't have it.
We wouldn't have that.
I wouldn't know that. And when you get to the back of the video store, there's like, in one room, there's like a radio show going on with some DJs. And then the other room is like the drug dealer. And he's on the phone again talking about his drug deals. Like, this one, I know it's a Death Wish show, but you're like, oh, wait. He's on the landline talking, yeah. The drugs should be coming in tonight at 9:15. It's about $55 million worth. We'll double that in the streets. And Kersey breaks in with a gun. He goes, "Don't shoot. What do you want?" "To stop you selling those damn drugs." And hey, how many sell drugs? He shoots him, and then all shit breaks out. But it's just fucking crackers. Just It's as if there's no research gone into it. Do you know what I mean? As if they don't, like I said it before, when we were talking about swapping notes and stuff. I said, you just keep saying drugs. They never specify, what it is.
The drugs.
Drugs. Arrest you for selling drugs.
The drugs. Okay. Right.
Selling wobbly eggs. What
One
wobbly
thing I
eggs?
noticed
Drugs.
about that video store is that they only seem to stock Canon films. There's like
It's a good touch in it.
Yeah, it is an advert for future Canon films, I think, or other Canon films, like where Kersey's blowing the room in which they're blowing him away, like is plastered wall to wall with Canon film posters. It's not very subtle. But yeah, I mean, I think it is still. I mean, it is still cheesy as fuck, and it's still terrible. But it's. I prefer this to Death Wish 3, so I'm sort of jumping the gun now a little bit. I do prefer this to Death Wish 3. I mean, it's choosing between two piles of shit and deciding which one's not quite as smelly. But there are, like the fight with Jack Boggs is hilarious. Like, he sort of, we've already talked about it. I'm making a sandwich, and they sort of have this fight. But then it's like all of a sudden there's like just freestanding shelves in the middle of the room, which like you would never put a shelf in the middle of a room. It's either it's going to go by the wall or whatever. But here, there's just like this shelf in the middle of the room that's just there for them to sort of fall into or pull down on each other, and it's just really shit. But there is like this sequence in a fish market, which reminded me of like it reminded me of RoboCop. It reminded me of the drug warehouse scene in RoboCop for some reason. But like Bronson's there. Sort of snooping around, and it's just really, really bad. There's like this massive pair of sort of doors, and like they get opened, and stood right behind the doors is a bunch of people like cutting up cocaine and cutting up drugs, and it's just like, oh, and it's just like really obvious that they're behind the doors, like, oh shit, and it's just really, really obvious, really, really bad. And oh man, it's just it's just stupid. But I do actually like the scene in the oil fields. I thought that was pretty good. Where like I say, Kersey just shoots a couple of oil barrels, but then the rest of the sort of gang sort of wipe each other out. And I didn't see the twist coming with Nathan Toupé. I just didn't see it coming until the scene where it's like, Nathan Toupé wants to see you. Meet me here in this abandoned road that's in the middle of nowhere. It's like, okay. So Kersey turns up and it's like, get in the back of the limo. He's like, hey, where's Toupé? He's like, oh, he'll be here in a minute. And he gets into the limo and then gets locked in. And then it's like, obviously something strange is afoot. And Kersey manages to get out of the limo before it blows up. And then that's when he goes to the mansion to find Toupé and finds out that actually it wasn't Toupé, it was someone else all along. It was this other drug lord who's used Kersey to wipe out his competition. I didn't see that twist coming at all. I thought that was, I thought it was quite an interesting. I wouldn't say it's a clever twist because, but it was an interesting twist. I just didn't see it coming. So at least it's got more interesting ideas than Death Wish 3. Death Wish 3 is just Kersey turning up in New York to a terrorized neighborhood and just fucking killing everybody. Here, there's a bit more of a plot, He's there, he's there playing off the drug gangs against each other. And, I mean, it's bullshit. It is, don't get me wrong, it's not a good film. It is bullshit. And I think, killing Karen off at the end, I think, is completely pointless because it's the end of the film. By this point, like Nathan Toupé's kidnapped Karen and there's the big shootout and stuff, but she dies in like the last minute of the film. She just gets blown away, and it just seems like a pointless. It just seems pointless. There's no need to kill her because everything's happened by this point. He's played off the drug gangs against each other. That he's wiped out Nathan Toupé and his gang, and it just seems like, why kill her? I mean, maybe it's because they knew they wanted to do Death Wish 5 and there was another family that they wanted to die. I don't know. But it just seemed a bit of a pointless. It just seemed a bit of a pointless death. And Kersey all of a sudden being like James Bond super spy. As you said, he just shows up in the middle of this mafia party and no one questions it. How the fuck does he get in there? Maybe we're taking it too seriously, Ben. I don't know. Maybe we're overthinking it. I don't know. But it is bullshit. But yeah, I do quite enjoy how it was tried to do something different to Death Wish 3. It looks better than Death Wish 3. It looks a bit classier. It's still terrible. But anyway, I think we know where we're going to go with this. Ben, any more thoughts on Death Wish 4 before we make the decision about what's going into the bin?
No, I would like to point out the bit with the metal doors, which I thought that's interesting. With the guys taking drugged fish out. This van, he sort of cares he infiltrates this factory, doesn't he, by putting an apron on and his top disguise. And he finds this rear steel metal, these suspicious looking metal doors with a guy guarding it. And his van drives up and he sort of presses this button and unlocks lots of things and slides the doors back and the car goes through. Kersey's watching and he goes, oh, that's how you get in. And then you think, oh, yeah, but you press the button and he walks and just opens the door. What's the fucking point in that thing? You have to press the button and unlock it. And he just walks up and opens the door. They remind me of Police Squad, where he'd walk through the door and Frank Drebin would walk around the side of the set. It's just like completely bypassing, making the whole previous minutes redundant, you know what I mean? Just and sometimes you wonder if they've done that on purpose, where they're just so bored making it. Oh, that doesn't fucking matter. Just do that. Who fucking cares anymore? And he's got his death fridge. He's fucking, everyone needs one of those where he goes home and he moves his fridge away from the wall, and behind it is like a fucking arsenal of weapons. You're like, fucking hell. That's where your money goes. It's fucking incredible. All these weapons here. You fucking maniac. And not just a handgun, just all automatic weapons. There can't be any criminals left in Los Angeles. No one lives in a nice house. But he must have killed them all by now. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed watching both of them. I will probably go back to both of them at some stage because I'm a bit of a freak like that. That's it. Yeah. I have nothing more to add, Your Honour, on Death Wishes.
Case closed. So which one? Which of these are you going to stick in the bin, mate?
Oh, I don't know. It's so hard. They're both shit. But I really enjoy watching Death Wish 3. I do because it's so funny, unintentionally funny, but at the same time. You know what I mean? It just cracks me up, and it's difficult to put a piece of paper between them because they've both got in levels of shitness, shitty merits that make them quite good. I don't know. It's too hard. I mean, I feel like tossing a coin. But I'd like to say if you're going to watch any Death Wish film to be entertained, it'll be Death Wish 3 because it's so fucking over the top and stupid. With people who funerals, instant funerals, which I love the idea of. You can die and be buried within hours of being murdered. It's just great. It's like being brushed under the rug. I think, but at the same time, I did like the fact that Death Wish 4 tried to do something different, and I'll save Death Wish 4 and put Death Wish 3 in the bargain bin. Because I'll quite happily go and delve in and drag it out for a watch every now and again. But that's where I am, I think. I think I'll save Death Wish 4 because it is it looks better. It's a better film, I think, out of the two in film land. You know what I mean? That's not saying much. But, you know what I mean?
No, not really. Yeah, so I'm the same. I get the feeling that was a really tough choice for you, Ben. And if I asked you again in a minute, you might make a different choice because I think, as you say, it's a cigarette paper between the two of them, really. For you, for me, it's a bit more of a clearer choice. I think. I mean, they're both shit, but they're both entertaining. These could have been contenders for the so bad it's good section, which we haven't done for a while, but they are. They're so bad. They're actually entertaining to watch. And I said that to my girlfriend Annie. I said, I've just watched a couple of Death Wish sequels for the pod. And I just said, oh, they're really bad, but they're really good. And Annie's like, you say that all the time. You're always saying that. You're saying films are so bad, they're so good. I'm like, no, I'm not. I don't. And I got into a row with my girlfriend. So thanks, podcast. But anyway, I think for me, I'm going to stick Death Wish 3 in the bin. I say it's a bit more of a clearer choice for me because I just think Death Wish 4 tries to do something different and it looks better. The quality is a little bit better. I mean, it's still a terrible film, but it is. I think it just has the edge on Death Wish 3. So for me, yes, I'm going to agree with you, Ben. I'm going to stick Death Wish 3 in the bin, but I'll stick it on the top. I'll stick it at the top of the pile. So if you want to watch it, you can just grab it easily, and you haven't got to search for it too hard. So there we go. Death Wish 3 in the bin. Death Wish 4, the Crackdown, on the shelf. And I did say to Ben when we were exchanging messages, I said, I might go watch Death Wish 5 now just for a laugh. And Ben's like, don't. So it's like, okay, maybe I won't then. So, yeah. Yeah. So I'm not going to watch Death Wish 5, The Face of Death, which is a fantastic title just by itself. So, but anyway, maybe we'll save that for another time.